Another year is over. That's right, when the clock strikes midnight tonight, it will officially be 2024. And you know I like to do these year in review videos for the prior year as we go into the new one. And I gotta say, 2023 for me was actually a pretty darn good year. Now, every year I write down my resolutions because I believe that the first step in making a dream reality is to bring it to life. And what way to bring it to life? Then the first step is writing it down. And granted, my list hasn't really held up all that well from being in my wallet all year, but I was able to kind of have a guideline of things I wanted to do. And minus like 4 things looking at it, I accomplished the majority of these. Now, every year I like to give the year a title, right? So 2023 for me was the year of adventure. And it wasn't meant to be an adventure in the sense of traveling. I wanted it to be an adventure in terms of me breaking out of my comfort zone and doing things I wouldn't normally do. You know, betting on myself and just throwing my name out there and trying to build my reputation a little bit more, if that makes sense. I had things like wanting to get more computer certifications, and I got a cybersecurity certification. I wanted career advancement. I got a new job this year. I wanted to get into acting, and I started doing that in the beginning of the year with thinking that was going to be the hardest thing. It was the first thing I accomplished last year. And that's something I do want to continue going into next year. So with everything I did in 2023, I look at it, I went to Florida, I went hiking more, I spent more time with family. I got some video games in my collection that I never thought I would own because of the pricing. I got into acting, I started writing my second book with not even finishing the first one, but that's something I want to finish both of them going into 2024. And you know, it's been a weird year in the sense of it finally feels like life is back to normal after, 2020 and 2021. Yeah, I remember doing this video in 2020, going into 2021 with my blonde hair, sitting on my couch, and kind of being a little like pessimistic because I didn't know what life was going to bring us the next year. And now that everything is kind of back on track, I created my list for 2024, and I titled 2024 the year of advancement. Now, certain things on here are really just follow-ups and carryovers from last year, like getting more acting jobs. Didn't get to go to London this year, so I put that back on the list. I still want to release my second album, still want to start a podcast. I want to prove worth within my career, like my new job. I want to prove that I was the right choice. That might be a little bit of a personal just accomplishment. I also want to learn to breathe and relax more because I find myself getting worked up over things, and I got to learn to just like chill, I want to finish writing my book, save up for a house down payment, pay off at least one of my student loans. And one of my big ones for 2024 is to regain and improve my strength. See, going into 2020 from 2019, I was probably in some of the best shape I had ever been in because I had started dropping fat. I was working out a lot more. I was eating a lot cleaner. And I kind of lost that all within the last 3 years. And I finally am starting to kind of regain my strength back. I can even tell from seeing myself in videos how much I am starting to look like the old me after being a little chunky for a while, let's be honest. So, I thought the title, The Year of Advancement, would fit because I'd be advancing things I am currently trying or currently involved with, but also just wanting to advance a lot of things in my personal life. I want to build my reputation more. I want to network more. I want to stop being as shy as I can be at points and just let my personality really show. A lot of people won't believe that I'm a really shy person if I don't know people because I do these videos. And that's something I want to finally get rid of that shyness, even though that's kind of been something I've had since I was a kid. But when I look back at 2023, it definitely was a year of learning also because I learned so much about myself. I focus a lot more on myself than I really had been in previous years because, every year, and I look at it ironically now, I had some kind of heartbreak with a relationship. And this year, I didn't. And it was kind of because I literally wasn't trying to find a love interest, right? I literally just spent this whole year focusing on myself, building myself to a point where I was, content with what I was doing. And I want to continue that going into next year because I used to have so many things going on in my late teens, early 20s in terms of music, poetry, working a lot, school, college, knowledge, stuff like that. And I want to get back on that track, right? And I know I can do it because I started doing it this year. And this year, actually, when I look back, is probably the happiest I've been since maybe 2018, right? Granted, it's, 5-year difference of just kind of feeling lost, kind of not knowing who I was anymore or what I was capable of anymore. And I think the pandemic had a lot to do with that, because I was fine going in from 2019 to 2020. The biggest problem I had with myself was like my weight. I wanted to get thin again. And then the pandemic happened, and me just being stuck with myself, I say it all the time, for so long, literally sucked. It kind of destroyed me. And 2023 was those first steps in me regaining control of my life, if that makes sense, because I was allowed to, without the regulations of like masks or this and that. Like, I was able to go out this whole year and just kind of be me again. And granted, it was a lot of work to kind of remember who I was and find who I was, but that was part of the adventure. Also with the getting into acting, that was an adventure for myself, because I had always wanted to get into acting, but I never really knew what I had to do to gain a role, aside from being a decent actor. But a lot of it was networking. I got to go hiking in spots I never went to. I went to Florida for a week and, rented a car while I was down there, so I got to go and see things I wouldn't normally see. I wanted to go to Toronto, and I wanted to go to London this year, which London was going to be a very big possibility back in October, but it came down to literally just financial reasons. I didn't want to spend as much as a flight and hotel and whatnot would have cost me, even though I have like enough saved up that it wouldn't have been much of a hit. But I knew I wanted that money in the bank, because I would have to start paying my student loans off while I was on that trip if I went, and it just didn't make sense to go, right? So that's why that's back on for next year, as well as going to Japan for next year. I think me and my cousins are going to do that trip. It's something I've wanted to do for a while. I know the travel is going to be a little hectic because it's a long flight from Jersey and the East Coast, but it's a lifetime experience. So it's one of those things. Other things I have on here is starting a podcast, which is something I wanted to do last year, and it never really materialized because timing never worked. Timing, I think, is going to work out a lot more now, because with my new job, everything is kind of like a better schedule, if that makes sense. I don't have to be up super early in the morning. I have weekends off. I have a lot more time to work on things creatively, which I've already started doing on. So 2023, as I wrap this up, because I don't want to make this as long of a video as I usually do, was a year just full of a lot of positivity. I can't really think of anything super negative that happened to me this year, as opposed to like years past where there was a lot of like family stuff going on, a lot of me just not believing in myself stuff going on. And 2023 was actually a beautiful year in terms of just reintroducing myself to myself. And I love it. And going into 2024, I want to keep that momentum going and just exceed it so much more, because I proved to myself I still have it within me to be that guy, if that makes sense. And I want to continue being that dude that can break down barriers that are placed in front of me like I used to do when I was younger. And granted, 31 is still kind of young, so I could still do it. But yeah, I want to do this year recap because it was just like a really cool year, full of a lot of like different elements that I really have nothing to actually gripe about, to complain about this year. And it just kind of proves when you're focusing on yourself, life is a lot more peaceful, I think. So how was your 2023, guys? Leave your comments down below, things you did this year. And as I'm signing off for the final time, I believe, in 2023, unless something wild happens within the next 12 hours, I want you guys to enjoy your New Year's. Be safe tonight. Be smart tonight. And I will catch you in 2024. Have a good one, guys. See ya. Bye.